What do you think have been some of your biggest regrets as an investor in terms of like decisions that do you have already an anti-portfolio that you
Oh
can
yeah.
talk
Oh
about?
yeah, definitely. I was actually looking at it this morning.
Oh,
Um, and there's a bunch. I mean, I think I'd say there's sort of two classes of regrets. One class is when I I knew the person was someone really special that was going to figure it out, but I also knew there were challenges in front of them that they needed to figure out, and I didn't invest because I saw clearly the challenges, and I wasn't willing to make the high conviction bet on the person, and that has always been a regret. It's just like that's so. I'm thinking of a company in particular where I looked at the business and said, like, there's actually a pretty big problem in front of you, and I didn't invest, and within 6 months they fixed the problem, right? And I brought the problem up with the founder, and kind of he knew it was a problem, but um, it was that there's a whole class of investment misses that I'd put there, and I'd mentioned the company, but it was a personnel related thing, so I'd rather not. But I'll give you another
yeah.
example. I mean, the other class, frankly, for me has been TAM and misunderstanding the total addressable market and thinking it was smaller than it was. And I think that's actually, I think it's Bill Gurley said somewhere, it's like, VCs get themselves in a lot of trouble when they overthink TAM. There's like the famous article on Uber from 2013 where someone estimated Uber's TAM at like 700 million, and obviously they're doing 10x that in revenue now, more than that. And I think the question there in those deals has always been underestimating growth and also underestimating kind of adjacencies and what the company could be if it really achieves the big vision. Um, and so, one of the companies that I, was looking at this morning and just kicking myself for the fifth or sixth time is a company called ClearBank, now called Clear.co.
Dude,
And so it's
I met
Andrew.
Andrew at South by Southwest when he was
Yeah,
doing a whole nother
great
different
entrepreneur.
company called Top Hat Monaco,
Yep.
and yeah,
Yeah. Well, when I looked at the company, they were primarily, so this is a company that basically is, think of it as a commercial bank for SMBs and moving up market into larger enterprises that uses alternative data sets to underwrite and finance, offer loans, right? And at the time, their business was primarily Airbnb hosts. So they'd look at Airbnb reservation data and say, "We'll give you a loan to upgrade your Airbnb. That'll let you charge a higher rent, and then you'll pay back over a period of time." And it was a great business, but I kind of did all the work and said, the Airbnb market's just not that big, and it's kind of all the revenue today. And they had a vision of what comes after Airbnb and what the next verticals would be, but they were pretty early. And I think I got too hung up on the TAM of what phase one was. And now I think Airbnb is probably, I don't know the numbers, small percent of their revenue. They've expanded into e-commerce and a bunch of other verticals. And that there's a bunch of investments I'd put in that category of underestimating TAM because I didn't think about all the places it could apply.
yeah,
Another one would actually be an investment you did at Funders Club, Sendbird, where their early
John.
customers were all, gaming customers doing multiplayer chat, like massive scale multiplayer chat. Numbers were great. John, the entrepreneur there, is extraordinary. And I just thought, man, how many people are going to need like multiplayer, massively scalable chat? And I did a whole like bottom up analysis. And what I missed there was just, chat is going to be a part of every application, and applications are going to grow, and you're going to want scalability because all of these different segments they can attack are growing.
Yeah,
And that was another miss for sure.
yeah. Interesting. Well, for me with Sendbird specifically, I think the background of SendGrid really helped, and I remember having a conversation with Boris about this. I was like, we got to invest in this company, and I really really liked John. He was the if you can describe the perfect South Korean hustle founder, that was him. He was just getting all. I remember, I think eBay and all these other logos, they were just their subsidiaries in South Korea, and through that expanding to global contracts. And It was heavily focused on gaming, but I don't know. I was such an email nerd that I was like, everyone is going to need chat at some point. So, and I sent the API to a few of the laziest developers I know, and then they all loved it. It was easy to integrate. You know, it
That's
had
great.
the beauty of a Stripe type of stuff, and so although like the TAM thing, I think it's where we really get hung up on. And for me, for instance, it's very hard to give a true step function credit for a founder, where they say, "Oh yes, so now I'm doing this, but tomorrow I'm going to do this plus that."
Hmm.
And sometimes I think that the issue though is even like, you know, because if you do know the person really well, you know it's going to happen and they will be able to execute and they learn and they iterate fast. But sometimes if you just met this individual and you only have 2 weeks to make a massive decision with millions of dollars on the line, how do you trust that that person will have that vision in the future, right? And you know, sometimes you only understand that you've made a mistake a year and a half, 2 years later. Um, so yeah, that is
Yeah. Well, the
it's difficult.
the thing that can drive you crazy in venture for sure is just how long the feedback cycles are. You just don't know for a long time, and even I've definitely had it where companies that I thought, man, I missed on that one, and then 12 months after having that feeling, thought, oh no, I was right. Like there was that big problem that was going to rear its head at some point. Um, and not that I take any like I want every company I pass on to become a massive company, but it is hard to know for a long period what whether you're making good decisions or not, and you get some intermediate signal of markups and the like, but you don't really know until you get to exits. And I'm 6 years into Costa Noa. I've got, knock on wood, like one exit coming down the pipe, but that's one of the 12 investments I've made. So it takes a long time.
Yeah, I'm in same boat now. I think next year I'll have first IPOs, but then it takes a while. It's 7 years. So, and you know, it's interesting. I would say though that one thing that I found that really helps me make good decisions is being very calm. And I know that meditation is also such an important part of your life. And um, the dumbest investment decisions I've made, I was agitated. I was
That's true.
either over caffeinated or tired, or I was drinking too much. And by drinking too much, I mean, like, you know, in a non-COVID world, right? There are weeks where like every night you're out and you're having a dinner, and it's always a special occasion because you're with a founder or an LP. So you're always drinking and you're kind of like overloading your system with shit and you don't really think straight. So I don't know. I've in the beginning of my career in venture, I took an offense, like a really, I was on the offense of meeting people, and now I've significantly reduced the amount of meetings I have,
Hmm.
and I think so much better because of that. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think I agree, not just in investment decision making, but also supporting companies post investment. I think the biggest surprise for me in my venture career is that before I started in venture, I kind of thought, startups were exponential curves or they failed, right? And that it's like a pretty smooth transition from like you're either winning and you're growing and you're taking over the world or you're not.